Okay, instead of lines, or 1.9, it should be 1.10. Sorry about that. But it's important for us to discuss linear functions, lines, and you are probably used to some of these pieces, but let's remind you of the slope formula. Slope is y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. We really have four kinds of slope. We have slope that's positive, we have slope that's negative, we have slope that's 0, we have slope that's undefined. We have an equation for point slope form, and it is y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1. We often use that to write an equation for a line. Some people can't remember where that comes from. I'm going to show you how you can remember that, because you all know the slope formula. Look what happens if you cross multiply. Y minus y1 equals, and this, you get m times x minus x1. If I just get rid of the 2's, there you have the slope, point slope formula. So pretty easy to see where it comes from. This has the slope m, and the point that it passes through is x1, y1. We generally take that and we put it into slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b, where that's the y-intercept, where it crosses the y-axis, and then that's the slope. Now, as you look here, we have horizontal and vertical lines. Horizontal lines have a slope of 0, and the y value stays the same. So therefore, a horizontal line has an equation of y equals some number. Vertical lines, those go straight up and down. The slopes are undefined. The x value stays the same for those. So the equation is x equals some number. And again, slope is equal to 0. Slope is undefined. Parallel lines have same slope. And perpendicular lines have slopes that are opposite, reciprocal. You've had this information since you were in 8th grade. Good review through geometry as well as Algebra 2. Let's try a couple. Find the slope of the line that passes through the following points. Take y sub 2, which is 10, minus y sub 1, which is 2, divided by x sub 2, which is 3, minus x sub 1, which is 5. And I get 8 over negative 2, or negative 4. In this situation, I take negative 2 minus 1 divided by negative 3 minus negative 3. Notice I get negative 3 over 0. That is an undefined slope. In fact, if I wanted to write the equation for it, I could. Notice that the x values stay the same. So the equation for the line is x equals negative 3. It has an undefined slope. In this situation, I take negative 2 minus negative 2 divided by 10 minus 4. And I get 0 over 6. Slope is 0. If you wanted to write the equation for a line, you could, because you can see the y value stays the same. It is negative 2. Y equals negative 2 is the equation for the line. And finally, this one, negative 1 minus 3 over 2 minus negative 4. Negative 1 minus 3 is negative 4. And 2 minus negative 4 is 6. And I get negative 2/3. That's your slope. So now that you know a little bit more about slope, let us write equations for lines. Slope of negative 3 and passes through a point of 3, 4. In order to write an equation for a line, you always need slope, and you always need a point that is on the line. Once we have those, you can use y minus y sub 1 is equal to m times x minus x sub 1. In this case, my y value is 4. My slope is negative 3 times x minus 3. Sorry about that. So y minus 4 is equal to negative 3x plus 9. Add the 4, y equals negative 3x plus 13. That's the equation for my line. We won't do the second one. Really no need to in this situation. This one is different because it doesn't give you the slope. But you could choose whichever point you want. I would like to choose 4, negative 7. If you chose the other one, you'd come up with the same result. If I want to determine the slope, I do y sub 2 minus y sub 1 divided by x sub 2 minus x sub 1. Notice negative 7 minus negative 1 gives me negative 6, and 4 minus 2 is 2. Slope is negative 3. Once I have negative 3, I can write my equation for my line. Y plus 7 equals negative 3 times x minus 4. So I used my slope for the m, and then I plugged in 4 for x and negative 7 for y. Turn it into slope-intercept form. Subtract the 7, y is negative 3x plus 5. And there you have your form. If we want to write an equation for a line that passes through 6, 1 and is parallel to 3x minus 4, we identify the slope and the point. And the point is 6, 1. If you want to identify the slope, if they're parallel, they have the same slope. So it's going to be 3. And from there, you could go ahead and write your equation. I'm going to move on to f instead of writing an equation because I think you all know how to do that by now. Here we need the slope and we need the point. The point is negative 3, 2. It's parallel to this. I can't just look at that and identify the slope. So I have to put it in slope-intercept form. Subtract the 3x from both sides, and then divide both sides by negative 5. And I get y is 3/5 x minus 11/5. So this line has a slope of 3/5, so my new line is also going to have a slope of 3/5. You do not need to worry about this negative 11/5. It has nothing to do with the problem. But now I can write my equation for my new line. Y minus 2 is equal to 3/5 times x plus 3. A few ways to deal with that fraction. If you want to multiply through by 5, you can. I'm just going to go ahead and just live with the fraction. Y minus 2 is equal to 3 over 5x plus 9 over 5. And then if I add 2 or add 10/5, you can see y is equal to 3/5 x plus 19/5 as I add that to both sides. What if I want to write an equation that passes through 4, negative 8 and is perpendicular to that? Well, if it passes through 4, negative 8, that's my point. Again, I always write down my coordinate and my slope. If it's perpendicular to this, well, I first have to find out the slope. So I have, if I move the 2y over and the 4x over here, I have negative 2y is equal to negative 4x plus 1. Divide by negative 2. And I have y is 2x minus a half. So if it's perpendicular, then the slopes must be opposite reciprocals. And the opposite reciprocal of 2 is negative 1/2. So the equation for my line, y plus 8, is equal to negative 1/2 times x minus 4. Y plus 8 is negative 1/2 x plus 2. Subtract 8, y is negative 1/2 x minus 6. And that's the equation for the perpendicular line. I'm going to give you a second to look at h because it really shouldn't be too bad. It says passes through pi root of 2 and is parallel to y equals 4,123. Well, what's the equation for the line? And this is actually a really simple problem. It just looks really confusing. And it all centers around knowing what kind of line that is. If it's y equals a constant, it's a horizontal line. So if it's parallel, then it's also another horizontal line, which means it has to have an equation of y equals. And it's y equals just some number. Well, what is y going to be equal to all the time? And the answer is the root of 2. The next one looks ridiculous. Passes through 6 to the pi power, comma, cubed root of 19 is parallel to x equals negative 5 over 129. Parallel. And x equals. That means it's a vertical line. If it's parallel, it's going to be another vertical line. Well, vertical lines have equations of x equals. What's the x value that it goes through? 6 to the pi power. So that is equation of a line that's parallel to it. So again, I threw these last two on there. They look really complicated, but they're not. You need to think conceptually about what's happening, and it comes to. So should be kind of nice compared to some of the inequality stuff we started with, but that's all you have. Inequalities, circles, distance formula, midpoint formula, writing equations for lines, slope, and should be hopefully a good test. So good luck, get ready, and we look forward to seeing you in class.